Hello everyone, this is Mr. Chris and welcome back to the channel. In my last video, I told you the two methods that I use to increase the number of YieldMax shares that I own. Today, I'm going to walk you through how I decide which YieldMax fund to sell in my portfolio to increase my position in YieldMax. But first, a disclaimer. This is Mr. Chris, and last year I was forced to retire from my job as an engineer and a project manager. So I started trading options using the wheel strategy and investing in YieldMax funds. I'm not a financial advisor, and all content of my channel, including this video, is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please do your research and proper due diligence when investing. If you like the content of my channel, please subscribe and slap that like button. I would appreciate it if you also write comments about the video. Okay, let's go. In my recent video, I shared with you the two methods of increasing the total number of YieldMax shares that I own from 45,000 to 100,000 shares through a dividend reinvestment plan or DRIP and a cash covered put options strategy. I actually have a third method on how I increase the number of shares of YieldMax that I own, and this is to sell other YieldMax funds I own and use the proceeds to purchase more YieldMax shares. When I started investing in YieldMax in July 2024, I used close to $540,000 of my retirement fund to purchase several YieldMax funds. I started with 1,000 shares per fund. Basically, I went through the list of YieldMax covered call ETFs and bought 1,000 shares of each fund until I completely used up my investment money. I cannot remember the original mix of YieldMax funds, but I know that early on I started focusing on YieldMax. The main reason is that I used several of YieldMax holdings of stocks to start trading the no-loss method of the wheel strategy. As I reviewed YieldMax holdings, I was able to develop my own criteria for selecting stocks to trade. My interest in YieldMax increased further as I started experiencing success in trading the wheel strategy. In my mind, I know that YieldMax will be a success in the long term, and to balance its original terrible net asset value erosion, I started using DRIP. So last December 2024, when I did my first review of my YieldMax portfolio, I initiated my first goal to accumulate 33,000 shares by early 2026, and then started selling some of the YieldMax funds in my portfolio so that I can increase the number of shares I own for YieldMax without using additional out-of-pocket money. My first 1,000 shares of YieldMax cost me close to $14,000. Through DRIP and exchanges from other YieldMax funds to YieldMax, I now own more than 45,000 shares of YieldMax. My new goal is to have 100,000 shares by mid-2026. Currently, my total investment for YieldMax is close to $295,000 with a net asset value loss of $16,000. However, the total dividend that I have received from YieldMax is more than $116,000 already, or for a total return of $100,000. So that's pretty good from my perspective. So how do I make a decision on which YieldMax fund to sell to exchange for YieldMax? Well, I have a two-step process when exchanging funds to sell for YieldMax shares. For the first step, I determine the fund with the lowest average monthly income. And then the second step is that I determine if buying YieldMax shares using all the proceeds of selling the funds with the lowest monthly average dividend will increase the total income. The method I use is simple, and it helps me make rational and number-based decisions and not an emotional ones. Here's how it works. First, I calculate the average monthly dividend of each YieldMax fund in my portfolio. I typically take the last 6 or more months of dividend payouts to get a more accurate picture, especially since these funds can vary month to month. Once I have all the average monthly dividends, I sort them from lowest to highest. The fund with the lowest monthly dividend is a candidate for exchange to ULTY. Before I pull the trigger and sell the fund with the lowest monthly average dividend, I run a test that I call dividend upgrade check. Once I know which fund has the lowest monthly average dividend, I ask myself, if I sell this fund right now, how many shares of ULTY could I buy with the proceeds? To find out, I take the current net asset value of the fund I want to sell and divide that by the current market price of ULTY. That tells me how many new ULTY shares I'd get in return. Knowing the number of ULTY shares that I can buy using the proceeds of the sale of the fund with the lowest monthly average dividend, I can estimate how much monthly income I will earn from those new ULTY shares. ULTY pays roughly 10 cents per share per week. So I multiply the number of ULTY shares by 10 cents and then multiply that by 4 to get a rough monthly estimate. Finally, I compare the numbers. The estimated monthly dividend from the new ULTY shares with the current average monthly dividend of the fund I plan to sell. If the ULTY estimate is higher, that means I will be increasing my monthly cash flow by making the switch. And that is when I trigger the exchange. Sell the lower performing fund, buy more ULTY, and lock in a higher monthly dividend. So in summary, I use a two-step process. Calculate the monthly average dividend for each of the fund to determine which fund to sell in exchange for ULTY, and then conduct a dividend upgrade check to tell me whether making the switch will boost my actual income. If the dividend upgrade test passes, then I make the move. This process helps me grow my position in ULTY while keeping my overall portfolio focused on monthly income efficiency. And it removes all the guesswork. Let me show you an example. Here's the table for my YieldMax portfolio showing the monthly dividend for each fund from January to July 2025. I recently purchased Tesla and LFGY, so we will disregard these two funds. The table also shows the sorted monthly average from January to July, showing YBIT to have the lowest monthly average dividend. This means that YBIT is a candidate for exchange. The current price for YBIT as shown in the table is $10.87. This is the price as of August 8, 2025, around 10:20 a.m. If I sell YBIT, then the proceeds will be close to $10,850. And with the current price of ULTY, which is $6.08, I will be able to buy close to an additional 1,780 shares. How much income will this 1,780 shares add to my monthly income? With ULTY's weekly dividend close to 10 cents per share, 1,780 shares will provide a weekly income of $178 per week, or roughly $712 per month. Compared to the 538 monthly average dividend from YBIT, the income that can be generated through ULTY is much higher. So this exchange can be triggered. However, I will not trigger the sale today because YBIT will pay dividend this week of more than $500. But I will revisit next week, and if the result is still the same, then I will sell YBIT and buy more ULTY shares. And that's it. Let me know if you're using a similar strategy in your dividend portfolio. I'd love to hear about it. And as always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. If you like this video or any of the videos in my channel, please hit the like button and subscribe, and join me in my journey in generating my retirement income through trading options and investing in high-yield funds like YieldMax. If you have any comment or question about the no-loss method of the wheel strategy or my perspective about YieldMax, please write a comment and I will answer them the best I can. This is Mr. Chris. Thank you, and I will see you in my next video.